All right, let's get straight to it. Every single mark on that CUET exam is precious, right? And today, we're going to lock in those crucial points from one of the most important topics, the evidence for evolution. I'm going to break down exactly what you need to know, so stick with me to the end, and let's get those marks.
So, let me ask you something. Have you ever actually stopped to wonder about this? I mean, why do a bird and a butterfly, two totally different creatures, have wings that look so similar and do the same job? This isn't just some random fun fact. This question holds the key to a core concept that CUET examiners absolutely love to test. And today, we are going to decode that answer together.
Okay, so our first piece of the puzzle comes from looking at the anatomy, the actual structure of different animals. Think of us as detectives right now. We're searching for clues buried in their bones. And this is where we find a really critical difference, things that look the same versus things that are actually related.
Now, just look at this slide. We've got two completely different patterns happening here. On one side, you have one basic blueprint that leads to a whole bunch of different forms. And on the other side, you have totally different creatures that somehow end up with a very similar result. These two patterns have very specific names, and you absolutely have to know them for your exam. Let's define them.
And this right here just makes it all so clear. Look at the forelimbs, a human arm, a whale's flipper, and a bat's wing. The bone structure inside, humerus, radius, ulna, it's basically the same plan, which points straight to a common ancestor. But one's for grabbing, one's for swimming, and one's for flying. See? Same origin, different function. That's a homologous structure. Now look at the other side. The wings of a bird and a butterfly. One is bone and feathers. The other is made of something called chitin. Totally different origins, but both are used for flight. Different origin, same function. That's an analogous structure.
So, these homologous and analogous organs, they don't just pop up by accident. No way. They are the direct results of two very powerful and kind of opposite evolutionary paths. Understanding these two processes is the next big step to mastering this entire topic.
First up, we've got divergent evolution. The easiest way to think about this is like a family tree. You start with one common ancestor at the very bottom, and then, over millions of years, the branches spread out. They diverge. Each new branch adapts to a different environment, leading to species that do different things, but they all share that original blueprint from the start. And this is exactly how you get homologous organs.
And then you have the second path, convergent evolution. Now in this case, you start with completely unrelated ancestors, but, and this is the important part, they happen to face a similar problem in their environment, like needing to fly. So, completely on their own, they evolve similar solutions. Their paths converge on the same function. And that's how we end up with analogous organs, like the wings of birds and insects.
And here it is, the master summary. This is the slide that ties everything together perfectly. Honestly, if you only remember one thing, make it this table. Divergent evolution gives you homologous organs. Convergent evolution gives you analogous organs. I would seriously pause here, take a screenshot, get this into your notes, because this connection is a guaranteed question area on the exam. But, how can we be so sure about all this? Well, we look for proof in the history book of life on Earth. So let's check out how fossils and embryos give us rock-solid evidence for these paths. Fossils are basically our biological time machine. Seriously. These preserved remains give us a direct window into the deep past. And they don't just show us old bones, they tell a story, laid down in layers of rock. It's a sequence that shows how life has changed, and most importantly, it reveals the connecting links or transitional forms that connect different groups of animals.
And speaking of connecting links, the absolute superstar is Archaeopteryx. This fossil is just incredible. Why? Because it has features of both reptiles, like teeth and a long bony tail, and birds, like feathers. It's the perfect in-between stage, giving us powerful evidence that birds evolved from reptilian ancestors. Remember this name, it's a favorite.
Here's another really fascinating piece of evidence. It comes from embryos. So early in development, the embryos of a fish, a reptile, a bird, and even a human look remarkably similar. A lot of them even show things like gill slits. So why is that? Well, the best explanation is that we all inherited these early developmental stages from a very distant shared ancestor. For your exam, the key takeaway is super simple. Similarities in embryos point to common ancestry. You know what's cool? We don't just have to look at the past. We can literally see evolution happening right before our eyes. The case of the peppered moth in England is such a classic example of natural selection in action. So before the Industrial Revolution, the trees were light, and so were most of the moths. They blended in. But when pollution from factories blackened the trees, suddenly the dark moths had the advantage and their numbers just shot up. It's a perfect, real-time demonstration of how the environment selects for certain traits.
All right, we've gone through all the concepts. That's great. But now let's make sure this information is permanently locked in your brain and ready to go for the exam hall. This is the part that turns all that knowledge into actual marks.
Okay, here are your memory hacks. Let's lock these in right now. Homo means same, so same origin. Ana means different, so different origin. Divergent evolution leads to different functions. Convergent evolution leads to a common function. See how that works? These simple phrases are so powerful and easy to remember when you're under pressure. Get them in your notes. Okay, listen up. Be very, very careful here. The #1 trap students fall into is mixing these pairs up. They'll say homologous organs come from convergent evolution or that analogous organs show a common ancestor. This is exactly the kind of confusion the exam is designed to test. So please, double check that you understand that summary table we saw earlier. Okay, time for a rapid-fire revision. Let's see what you remember. Test yourself. Homologous organs mean common ancestry and divergent evolution. Right. Analogous organs mean convergent evolution. Good. Fossils give us the timeline, a chronological record. The key connecting link is Archaeopteryx. And industrial melanism is proof of natural selection in action. How'd you do?
And here we are. The single most important, most expected question you need to be ready for is this. Why do homologous organs support evolution? And the answer is simple but so powerful, because their fundamental structural similarity, even though they have different functions, is the undeniable signature of a shared family history. It is the ultimate proof that all life is connected. If you can master that one idea, you've cracked the code.